Here are the top stories for today, July 15, 2019. An emotional tribal leader in U.S. tour rebuts Filipino-American protesters. France says it is open to defense cooperation with the Philippines. The DOST is launching its newest mobile science learning facility called New Lab on time for its celebration of Science Week. And the suspended tribal schools have been given 5 days to refute allegations that they are linked with the communist rebel movement. Good day, I'm Rom Dulfo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. An emotional tribal leader rebutted Filipino-American protesters who interrupted a forum where indigenous peoples leaders are calling on the Filipino community in San Francisco, California to resist the armed insurgency movement in the Philippines. Netizens were quick to call out the FIL-AM protesters. Here's my report. Her tears were not a mark of weakness, but of overwhelming grief, disappointment, and love.
Ang sinasabi po namin dito, yung narrative namin, ito po yung katotohanan na nangyayari sa aming ancestral domain. Kami po yung naninirahan sa ancestral domain at hindi yung mga taong sumisigaw sa amin na stop telling lies because we are not telling lies. I am a victim of the communist terrorist. Hindi nyo naranasan na mamatayan ang ama dahil pinatay ng NPA ng komunista.
Bio Christine Banugan couldn't hide her outburst after FIL-AM protesters interrupted a forum of the indigenous peoples in San Francisco, California. Banugan said she herself has been a witness of the atrocities committed by the communist insurgents. Her father and uncle were killed by members of the NPA, and her family has been receiving death threats in the past days from the rebel group for standing her ground. Banugan is among 8 tribal leaders who are in the U.S. for a series of speaking engagements as they rally the international community to resist the narrative of the CPP-NPA. Netizens called out the FIL-AMs for heckling the IEP leaders who were appealing to the Filipino community to help disseminate the truth about the deception of the communist terrorist organization in the Philippines. Netizen Lito Famindalan said the IEPs were harassed by Filipinos themselves who had a different ideology. Netizens lament that IEP communities have long been used by the CPP-NPA in their guerrilla warfare, saying remoteness from the center of development make them potential recruits in the armed movement. Glenn Christian Juarez says when IEPs are recruited and are killed in the battle by government forces, the rebels would say that military troops are killing farmers. The tribal leaders are traveling across the U.S. to call on the U.S. government, UN, and various international organizations to help get rid of the CPP-NPA. The CPP-NPA is listed as a terrorist organization by the US, European Union, UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the Philippines. Major General Antonio Parlade, Jr. of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, says Ibuan Foundation lacked credibility for supporting the call for United Nations probe in the country. Parlade is accusing Ibuan Foundation of being partly responsible for fabricating false data and information about the country for the last 40 years. He adds Ibuan Foundation has been involved in the publication of books using falsehoods like the Jabida massacre in Corregidor to incite sedition among the Muslim population, and that the group promote the CPP-NPA as heroes among the children enrolled in Salugpungan schools. He adds that it is not surprising to find out that the Ibuan Foundation has been a major source of European states and the UN of their negative narrative about the Philippines. Meanwhile, Parlade said he expects the militant human rights defenders group NUPL to keep on complaining following its loss over the writs of amparo, habeas data, and kalikasan filed by Karapatan, Gabriela, and rural missionaries of the Philippines against the government. Parlade on Saturday said regardless of the Court of Appeals ruling, the NTF-LCAC will ensure that NUPL members will be protected from more attacks from their own ranks that portray a ruthless government and prove their point that they are indeed in danger. He reiterates that exposing the truth about the real agenda of the CPP front organizations like NUPL, Karapatan, Gabriela, among others, is not red tagging and never a harassment. He adds that it is the sworn duty of state officials to protect its citizens, especially from exploitation of violent organizations like the CPP, and dissuade them from joining the armed rebellion that the CPP has been espousing. The Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or RTF-LCAC, has declared the CPP-NPA as persona non grata in Central Luzon. RTF-LCAC Region 3 gathered on Saturday in San Fernando, Pampanga to give its recommendations on how that body can address the communist insurgency using local solutions. They also declared the CPP-NPA as persona non grata in Central Luzon. Presidential Peace Advisor Carlito Galvez Jr. said they are going to address insurgency by the strong cooperation as mandated by Executive Order Number 70. Galvez has been designated by President Duterte as the Cabinet Officer for Regional Development and Security, or CORDS, for Region 3. The RTF-LCACs are under the oversight of the NTF-LCAC and will be responsible for implementing the latter's programs and policies at the regional level. Former OFWs laud President Duterte's move for creating the Department of OFW. Meanwhile, Ormoc is strengthening its campaign to manage the city's traffic situation. More on this from Joyce Gudis.
Former overseas Filipino workers expressed their gratitude to President Rodrigo Duterte for looking after the welfare and safety of overseas workers. Duterte announced during the Araw ng Pasasalamat sa mga OFW on Friday the creation this year of the Department of OFW, which would handle matters concerning Filipino workers abroad. Aside from the new department, Duterte said he would build hospitals specifically for Filipino migrant workers. Meanwhile, the BRP Davao do Sur, which is one of Philippine Navy's 2 strategic sea lift vessels, is deployed to participate in the naval parade in connection with the Russian Navy Day celebrations. This was the second time the Navy had deployed ships to Russia. The first one was in October last year when the BRP Tarlac visited Vladivostok, Russia. In other news, the Ormoc City government is stepping up its campaign to rid national roads of obstructions to make traveling in the city more safe and efficient. Actor turned Mayor Richard Gomez said the roads in the city, especially national highways, should not be used as parking areas. He said that managing the city's traffic situation is very important because Ormoc is a developing and growing city due to big investments. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Joyce Gudis.
Still to come, France says it is 100% available in establishing defense cooperation with the Philippines. And Undersecretary Joel C. Egco, the Presidential Task Force on Media Security, or PTFOMS, is seeking for the immediate probe of the murder of radio man Eduardo Ed Dizon. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Bakit kami nakadating dito sa lugar na to? Napakalayo para sa amin. Dahil tinulak kami ng napakalaking problema doon sa amin. Ang pinaka-pakiusap ko talaga sa mga kababayan naming Pilipino dito sa Chicago, sa US, na tulungan kami na huwag na suportahan yung mga grupo na mga NGO, mga grupo, mga organisasyon na nagpakilala na tumulong sa amin dahil walang nangyayaring tulong doon sa amin. Yun lang ang pakiusap ko sa mga kababayan ko dito sa yung tungkol doon sa asylum. Hindi namin iwanan ang community namin. Kahit ano mangyari, hindi namin iwanan yung community namin. Si Joe Masison lang ang taong nakilala kong duwag na pinabayaan niya ang bayan niya at nagpunta siya sa ibang bansa. Para sa amin mga tribo, ang ancestral domain, nakaukit ang buhay namin sa aming lupang ninuno. Buhay namin yan at saka hindi namin kailangan iwanan yan. Ang kultura nagsasabi na kung saan galing yung saan nagpunta yung mga tao, mga grupo na nagkabigay ng problema sa community, kailangan puntahan namin, kailangan kausapin namin.
French Ambassador Nicolas Gailly said that France is 100% available in establishing defense cooperation with the Philippines, similar to its partners in the Indo-Pacific region. Gailly said during the celebration of France National Day in Makati City on Sunday that they are happy that the Philippines clearly wants to play a bigger role in the region, and France is 100% available to have the same kind of cooperation with the Philippines. Aside from 8,000 French militaries, Gailly mentioned that France also has naval bases posted in the Indo-Pacific region. Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Delfino Renzana said he would like to canvass for military equipment and submarines from the European state, as the Navy is considering France as a source of submarine. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority, or PEZA, is proposing subsidies for high-ticket industries. PEZA Director General Charito Plaza said granting subsidies to high-ticket industries, or those that will invest at least $1 billion, will create over 5,000 jobs and will bring new technology. Plaza bared that the agency is conducting an inventory of public lands, which it will propose to President Duterte to be proclaimed as public ecozones. The agency is preparing a draft proposal to revise Republic Act 7916, or the Special Economic Zone Act of 1995. Plaza expressed optimism that the 18th Congress will pass this amendment. South Korea will increase its trade volume with ASEAN member nations in the years ahead. The UK Secretary General of the ASEAN Korea Center cited the good relations between ASEAN and the Republic of Korea during the past 30 years. The former ambassador to the Philippines said the ASEAN is its second largest trading partner, reaching $160 billion in 2018, and the third largest investment partner, totaling $6.1 billion. UK said ASEAN Korean Center will carry out a series of programs under the collective theme of connecting people and sharing prosperity. It will also serve as a networking hub where the youth, scholars, media, and the general public can interact with one another, fostering friendship and raising mutual understanding. In continued efforts to solve poverty and insurgency, Davao Oriental Governor Nelson Dayanghirang has localized Executive Order 70 of President Duterte. The localization of EO 70, which piloted in Barangay Taukanga, Manay, Davao Oriental, has rolled out to Barangay Marayag in Lupon. It is one of the biggest villages of Lupon with a history of communist influence. Davao Oriental Information Officer Karen Lu De Loso said the immersion resulted in the identification of the needs of the barangay, which include water system, livelihood, education, land tenure security, and sanitation, among others. De Loso said the governor wanted the program to reach and be felt in all 183 barangays of the province. Davao Oriental is said to sustain the operation of the country's first halfway house, as well as the implementation of enhanced comprehensive local education program for rebel returnees. 55 IP schools linked with the communist rebels were suspended, and soldiers unearthed rebels' firearms in Batangas now. More on this from Janice Cave.
In Davao City, the 55 suspended tribal schools have been given 5 days to refute allegations that they are linked with the communist rebel movement. This after DEPED Secretary Leonor Briones suspended the permit to operate of the 55 schools owned by Salugpungan, Tatano, Igcanogon Community Learning Centers across Davao region on Friday. The suspension also carried a show cause order giving Salugpungan Executive Director Maria Eugenia Nolasco to provide a written explanation on the allegations of National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon. In Cadapawan City, Undersecretary Joel Edco of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security has solicited the help of the local media community on efforts to hasten investigation into the July 10 murder of local Brigada News FM broadcaster Eduardo Dizon. Edco visited the crime scene in the wake of Dizon on Saturday. He said the police already had persons of interest who could have masterminded the murder of the broadcaster. In Davao City, a young farmer is set to receive his award as the most outstanding young organic farmer next month. 27-year-old Janelle Huaton said organic farming is very beneficial since you are nurturing crops without the use of synthetic chemical. He said that shifting to natural farming is not an easy task since he waited for about 3 years to convert his land to become purely organic. In Batangas, Soldiers conducting their intelligence operations uncovered on Sunday 2 high-powered firearms in Barangay Piña, Taysan, Batangas, believed buried by members of the New People's Army who have given up their lost cause. According to Brigadier General Arnulfo Marcelo Burgos Jr. of the 2nd Infantry Jungle Fighter Division, the NPA's act of leaving their rifles behind by burying them is a concrete manifestation of their waning will to fight brought about by the series of decisive losses which they suffered from government troops. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, the DOST is launching its newest mobile science learning facility called New Lab in time for the celebration of the Science Week. And Task Force Bangon Marawi launched a Servicio Caravan at the Sari Manok tent city. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
We have here in San Francisco the Salugpungan International. It has its own website. It brings FIL-AM students, Philippine FIL-AM and even American students to the Salugpungan schools in Talaingon. They have what they call immersion programs and exchange students programs. They are also raising funds. The Salugpungan International is, in fact, they have a website. You can browse it. That Salugpungan International have a program of donate, adopt a student, adopt a school, adopt a teacher, in their website. Those are specific cases that worries us because the funds that they bring in help alternatives, what they call lumad alternative schools or that are under attack. These lumad alternative schools had been producing child warriors from among the indigenous people. Yes, they teach literacy and numerology, but they also teach radical and ideology integrated in the curriculum that they are teaching.
The Department of Science and Technology is inviting everyone to join the celebration of Science Week. This year's theme is Science for the People, enabling technologies for sustainable development. The public would see exhibits and demonstrations of various products on energy, health and medical care, resilience and innovation, food products, among others. The DOST will also launch its newest mobile science learning facility called New Lab. Guest institutions will also give talks about their experiences and the impact of the Balik Scientist Program and Law. The National Science and Technology Week is happening from July 17 to 21 at the World Trade Center in Pasay City. In sports, Mighty Sports cruised to its third straight win in the Jones Cup at the Changhua County Gymnasium in Taiwan. Mighty Sports blasts Japan 94-59 on Sunday. Ronaldo Balkman celebrated his birthday with 27 points, 12 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks, and 1 steal for Mighty Sports, which pulled away late in the first quarter. Eugene Phelps added 19 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 block. Philippine Ko and Haruta Ogawa each made 10 markers for Japan, which fell to 1 win and 1 loss in the standings. Mighty Sports earlier won its first 2 assignments against Iran and Jordan. It is facing University of British Columbia on Monday. Barangay Ginebra Kings have taken the 4th slot at the PBA Commissioner's Cup playoffs. Barangay Ginebra on Sunday outlasted Colombian Jib after Stanley Pringle forced overtime. Justin Brownlee scattered a career-best output following up a previous 49-point job with a 50-point performance. Colombian import Lesser Prosper made 45 points but failed to force a second overtime. Meanwhile, Blackwater Elite notched a win over the Alaska Aces to claim the third seeding heading to the playoffs. Bobby Ray Parks made 25 points, while Roy Sumang scored 18 to lead the Elite. Blackwater also went for some 8 minutes in the fourth period without Staffan Blair, who suffered cramps on his left leg. Aline Maliksi and Mac Bello helped the Elite stay afloat in their import's absence. In continued efforts to help rehabilitate residents of Marawi City, Task Force Bangon Marawi launched a Serbisyo caravan at the Sarimanok tent city. More than 300 households have availed of government services through the caravan. More on this from Sweet Lukman.
The Information Management and Strategic Communication Support Group of the Task Force Bangon Marawi held its first leg of Kumpas Barangay Information at Serbisyo Caravan for the year 2019 at Sarimanok Tent City. From the 4 barangays of Marawi City, internally displaced persons converge at Sarimanok Site 1 to avail of the services and assistance from the different line agencies. More than 300 households have benefited from the activity. The caravan aims to assist Maranao communities in the recovery and rehabilitation process by facilitating an exchange of information between and among the affected families and government agencies. It also seeks to support the Task Force Bangon Marawi in deepening the awareness and understanding the general public about the status of Marawi City, rehabilitation efforts, and the Maranaos through proper dissemination of information. Meanwhile, the other partner agencies have set up their own services such as medical check-up by the Department of Health, distribution of school supply starter kits by the Department of Trade and Industry, security, psychosocial intervention by hijab troopers, free haircut by the 12th CMO Battalion, information drive on land use, management and environmental protection, social cartography by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and processes and procedures to be followed in the demolition of structures in most affected area and the return of IDPs to MAA, as well as their transfer to permanent housing and temporary shelters. With TFBM partner agencies, this activity provided a venue for IDPs across all sectors to discuss their concerns, develop plans, and engage in social platforms to support the rebuilding of a peaceful and better Marawi. For PNA Newsroom, Sweet Lukman, Philippine Information Agency.
In our weather update, Tropical Depression Falcon has slightly accelerated while maintaining its strength. Tomorrow, there will be light to moderate with occasional heavy monsoon rains over Mimaropa, Western Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, and Bangsamoro. Meanwhile, light to moderate with occasional heavy monsoon rains will prevail over Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Western Visayas, and the rest of Central Luzon and Mimaropa. Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. An emotional tribal leader in U.S. tour rebuts Filipino-American protesters. France says it is open to defense cooperation with the Philippines. The DOST is launching its newest mobile science learning facility called New Lab on time for its celebration of Science Week. And the suspended tribal schools have been given 5 days to refute allegations that they are linked with the communist rebel movement. Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. Check out these and more stories. Visit the PNA website to follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government, how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags on all our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Rom Dulfo. Good day.